Welcome to the podcast with your favorite cash flow guys, Mike and Blaine. Giving you the best advice while having a beer. When you're running a business, there are problems every day. Let Mike and Blaine help you out and guide your way. Cheers to the good times with Mike and Blaine for business, beer, and BS.
Still one of my favorite jingles ever. You are listening to Mike and Blaine. This is episode 110. 110. We have 10 more than 100 right now. So 110 times you and I have been together. I'm Mike Blaine, also known as Cashflow Mike. That is my partner and CEO and founder of Dry Run, Blaine Birch. What's up, my man?
Oh man, I've been looking forward to this because last week I know you were on the road, so we had to kind of push it back a few days. So this is fun. We're gonna do 2 this week, so it's like a 2-fer this week. 110 and 111, all in a couple days span. So that's gonna be fun.
You cannot believe how much travel I went to Nashville, then I went to Memphis, then I went to New Jersey. I got Arizona coming up, Tucson and Phoenix. It's just been one after another. Oh, and then I ended up in Dallas for the Texas A&M Arkansas game at Cowboy Stadium. And if you've never been there, it's a sight to see that damn screen in the middle of the place takes up the whole football field. It's just an amazing sight.
Oh man, that's awesome! I've barely traveled at all lately, so I'm a little jealous because it sounds like you're going to some cool places. But the worst thing is, I think you're going to be in Arizona before I'm in Arizona, so I'll probably miss you by a week. I think.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, because I'm going to be there the middle, so 18, 19, 20, something like that, and I think you were coming the week after.
Week after, I think we'll be down there. So we'll hopefully catch up later in the fall here or something. So.
All right, so you had this idea for this episode, right? You had the idea, and I'm like, man, that's really good. You said just an idea, hold it for later. I couldn't. When I read it, I'm like, we got to do it. I mean, that's a fun one. So we're going to talk about autocorrect, making those mistakes, making you look silly. What can it do to your business? But to get there, we got to talk about some beer, and I got a beer sponsor today I'll talk about, but you go ahead.
Okay, well, I'll start off, and I'm as I said before, I'm emptying my beer fridge before we had sales, so I don't have very many good matching ones anymore. But this is a brewery I really like. It's Fahr Brewery from Diamond Valley, Alberta, which is southwest of Calgary. All the beer they do is German, all straight up as German as you get, and this is a German Pilsner style beer. Really good beer, and I just again, a nice little local brewery that's doing some really good stuff. Won a lot of awards for their beer. So I was excited to put them on, even though it has nothing to do with today's topic. So,
hey, do they have other beers besides the Pils?
Oh yeah, they've got. I've had probably half a dozen, all sort of lager, they're all German style beers. Yeah. And they've had some that are sort of semi-dark. And then a lot of sort of the lighter lager style beers. So,
because I want to think during season one of us had a Fahr beer because I that logo, I think I remember uploading it onto the website when we were doing featured breweries.
I think I did. I think I featured these guys before. Yeah, probably a couple of years ago, and I don't remember which beer it was, but I don't think it was the Pils though. Actually, I think it was a different one of their other ones that were really really good. So what you got cooking?
All right, so have you ever heard of the Red River Rivalry? I wouldn't expect you to from Canada.
No.
All right, it's an annual contest between Oklahoma football and Texas football, right? The University of Texas, and they call it the Red River Rivalry. And what's kind of cool is that Austin Brewery actually changes a can, right? Renames their brand, their Austin Amber, for this game. Nice. And Neighbor Breger, you notice how I got Neighbor Pat, Neighbor Breger, Neighbor Breger brought it down. He says, I got just the beer for you. And it kind of reminded me of today's topic because actually it's super funny, right? It's Oklahoma sucks. The sucks is misspelled. It's almost like an autocorrect, right? So Oklahoma sucks is the beer, but it's Austin Amber is what it is normally throughout the year. But one time a year they rename that beer into Oklahoma sucks. And dude, that's got to be one of the funniest things you can go buy. Of course, you got to go buy an Oklahoma sucks beer.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's I'm just trying to bring up the topic from today because I'm trying to remember what the title was, exactly what it was.
It was odd. It was odd. I didn't get it.
I just remembered because we actually got scolded by, was it Larry, one of our other beer sponsors, because we dive into the show all the time and then we don't talk about our own stuff till later in the show. So we've started this idea of let's just do a quick 5-second who we actually are early in the show so people know in case they're not hanging around all the way to the end. So over to you, Cashflow Mike.
All right. So are we supposed to promote the show or ourselves? I can't remember.
No, promote yourself. Promote Cashflow Mike. Yeah, for sure.
All right. So, hey, thanks for listening to the show. This is the Mike and Blaine Show. I am Cashflow Mike. And if you are looking to just learn more about your business, if you want to see your business through the eyes of financial statements, take a look at Cashflow Mike in my Clear Path to Cash program. Matter of fact, if you want a little taste, a little test, go to cashflowmike.com. Get my book, ebook, free download, the 7-minute conversation. I'm going to teach you how to analyze any business in 7 minutes or less. And that includes reading the cash flow statement in 15 seconds. Yep. I guarantee you'll learn it in 15 seconds and you can hold me to it. If not, I'll give you an hour free. How about that? Give you an hour free. So anyway, go check it out, download the book, and learn how to analyze your financial statements. So what about you?
And, Cashflow Mike and us all are such massive believers in cash flow for business. Come to us at dryrun.com if you're looking for a way to forecast your cash flow. But there's some cool things Dryrun does that nobody else does. We actually help you forecast your sales pipeline, even bring in data from your CRM, because your sales pipeline today is tomorrow's cash flow. So you got to make sure that's in there. We're going to help you run just a auto repeat forecast on your expenses. So you have an idea of what it costs to stay in business every month. And then you can just model scenarios to your heart's content to know exactly what's happening in your business and where you're going. So come talk with us at Dryrun, whether you're a business owner, internal finance, or whether you're a CPA that's offering client advisory services. We are terrific for that. We'll save you a ton of time and help you communicate with your clients better than ever. So come and talk with us. And also make sure you follow us so you're going to catch every episode we got cooking here. So
got it. All right. And one final push for the website, mikeandblaine.com. There's a couple different things, cool things you can do. One of it, you can buy our merch. And, trust me, my favorite shirt on there is the Just Giving Her shirt, right? Because that's all we do every time. We just give her. And you can buy us a beer. And believe it or not, that's starting to heat up. Blaine, this is like 2 weeks in a row we've had to go on and buy us beers. Now, next show, Rachel Barnett. She's our next sponsor. We're starting to get these things lined up. So if you want to be in the queue to sponsor a show, all you got to do is buy us a beer. Go to mikeandblaine.com, click on the buy us a beer button, and that's all it takes, right?
We have gone back 8 weeks, I think, before this with beer sponsors. And I think there was some before that. Now we've got, I don't know if it'll get us quite to the end of the year, but let's buy us a beer so we can get to the end of the year with sponsors. We want to do like 30 weeks straight of sponsors. That'd be ideal. So yeah, check us out at Mike and Blaine.
And if you're listening to this, you're like going, "Oh, I can't buy them a beer. That's too much." Hey, it's $5 each, right?
Yeah, it's $5.
You can buy one.
You have to be a good beer.
Yeah. You can buy one. You can buy 3. You can buy 25. It doesn't matter. It's $5. Whatever increment of $5 you want to spend, just go ahead and plug it down.
Exactly, and if you buy 5 beers, you'll get 5 weeks. Like we're a cheap sponsorship date.
And you know what? You know what else Neighbor Breger brought me? We've talked about this in the past. He and his family developed some of those solar eclipse glasses. Mm-hmm. So I now have 2 pairs of his solar eclipse glasses here at the house. So I'm gonna, we're gonna check them out, but they're really cool.
Okay, on our topic today, because I got to mention, I just saw you mentioned something and a little thought bubble with the thumbs up showed up on your screen. Okay,
that's happened to me twice today.
This has happened. I was in a meeting earlier today with a customer, and he said something, and balloons all went up on the screen. I was in a meeting yesterday with our marketing director, and confetti started to come down twice. And this is exactly the issue of the topic. Okay, it's the topic today, and I'll mention, but it's kind of the perils of AI, and that is a perfect example. That was not planned, that Apple has brought something out that seems to be hasn't affected my laptop. So I don't know if I've somehow turned it off, but everyone I've been talking with lately has weird animations happening, even though they don't want them to, and they haven't asked for them.
Yeah. Well, and I just installed an update to the OS yesterday. And today on Zoom, I had that little bubble. And then just now we had that little bubble. So I'm like, what the hell is that?
And I'm probably a deadbeat. I probably haven't updated my computer recently enough. So that is a very intrusive, like, seems like something you should turn on, because this has been like, here's on a podcast, we were in 2 business meetings and there's balloons and confetti and shit floating around. Doesn't seem quite right. But the topic that is, it's all around this topic of how much do you trust AI and double check it. And the title of the episode today is Tomatoes That Rock for You, which honestly sounds really cool to me. But I had been emailing a potential client, CC'd my friend that had given me an introduction, and autocorrect changed. I don't even remember what I was going to say, like just something about happy to meet you or something. And it autocorrect changed it to Tomatoes That Rock for You. And fortunately, I always go back and read things over again. And I caught that before it went out, but I'm like, not only is that would make me look bad, it probably tried to fix a very minor typo. But there's something seriously intrusive about that. But how bad is your AI if it thinks that Tomatoes That Rock for You is actually a thing? So, pretty shitty autocorrect too.
Yeah, one thing. I mean, well, there for a while there was the ducking phenomenon, right? Which was anybody that tried to write the word "fucking" on Apple or iPhone or whatever, it would change it to ducking automatically. So I'm almost thinking they did that on purpose, just trying to curb the amount of profanity that was in text or in
absolutely,
and purposeful. It was too much.
And I had to go into, this was years ago, I actually had to go into my settings on my phone, and I can't remember how I did it, but there was a way that you could sort of actually add that spelling in. It was like, it's almost like as if it was someone's name. It's like, you just, ignore this spelling so I could add my profanity into my phone so that I could actually write it. It wouldn't change it to ducking and all that all the time. Just, I'm dedicated to the odd naughty word when I got to actually adjust my phone for it.
I'm trying to figure out what that new upgrade was, because it upgraded. It took a long time too, by the way.
I'll run mine tonight, and I'll expect to see something weird tomorrow. So,
yeah, it's called Sonoma. The new one is, right. Screensavers are really cool. The widgets they updated. I didn't even look at what it was, but everything's different now. I can tell you that.
Oh, okay. I got lazy. I'm usually up to date with my updates, but not this time, which is probably a good thing. But this. When autocorrect first showed up, it was on the phone. Now it's kind of your text messages, and then it's gotten more and more intrusive, and it's starting to like embed itself everywhere. But now it's going. That was like the very first baby step. But now AI is going nuts, and I was actually writing notes earlier today. Writing something in Notion, and I don't know if you guys aren't familiar with Notion, it's just a really good app for just writing things and collaborating and all that. And I was writing some stuff out, and I have an account with Grammarly, and I can run stuff through it, and it's a really great little tool. But it started automatically writing stuff in Notion. I was trying to turn it off, and it just started writing. And I'm like, it doesn't know what I want to do. I'm just trying to write some notes here on stuff, like very specific notes. This isn't some public post or anything. And it just started to predict and write a bunch of stuff. And I'm slamming, like trying to shut this thing off. And there's times when that stuff is so useful, and there's times when it's so intrusive. And I don't think there's a good way for it to know when it's being intrusive, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, those. All right, so the confetti and the balloons and stuff like that, they were already doing that. Apple was in text messages, right? If you type "Happy Birthday," somebody gets that text message that pops up. That kind of makes sense to me, right? Because, it's going to animate. But if I don't expect, because that was Riverside. It happened on Riverside to me today, and it also happened
Yeah.
on Zoom today. So it has to do with something with the microphone that's triggering these animations.
Yeah.
Again,
I kind of wish we knew what it was, because I think you did a thumbs up like this, and I think give it another thumbs up and see if it does that again. I'm pretty sure you gave a thumbs up.
nothing.
Now we can't even get it to do it when we want it to do it. So
Funny. First of all, I mean, autocorrect could really get you in trouble in business, right? With your customers, it confuses people. My favorite one that it was probably a few years back, maybe 3, 4, 5 years back. I can't remember. In an email that I got, it said, "Hey, please see, the attachments. It's still a penguin." I'm like going, "What?" Like, and I'm like going, I don't know if that's funny or not funny, or if this is, some type of spam or whatever it is. Please see the attachments. It's still a penguin. I'm like going, well, what the hell does that even mean? What they meant to say was it's still pending, and it changed it to a penguin.
Yeah, just not overly smart. And like one of the coolest features I've seen in with I think it was email, and I think it might even be text messages, is you can set up a delay, because you hit send and then you kind of glance at it and go, oh, it didn't autocorrect, and you can recall it, so you stop it before it sends, which is an amazingly handy feature. But I've actually set mine up for longer extensions, because then I'm just like, because it really doesn't matter if it waits 30 seconds. It's not going to affect anything. But if I notice something and go, stupid autocorrect, I can bring it back and change it. We have a video up on YouTube, and one of my staff said to me the other day, she goes, hey, your name's spelled wrong on this description here. It had autocorrected my name. And it looked ridiculous, because it was like literally like Blaine, Burch, or whatever. I'm like, how did it even autocorrect to that? Like, it's ridiculous. Anyway, but one of the things that I think is, with some of the autocorrect stuff, like the penguin, the tomatoes that rock for you, you can glance at it and you'll notice it. Like, usually it'll pick it up, right? The part that I'm getting a little bit worried about is when some of this AI stuff is automatically writing things, and grammar wise and spelling wise and even context wise, it actually makes sense, but it could completely change the meaning of your message if you're not careful, and you may not pick it up, because it's not a simple typo. It's not a simple, ridiculous word. It could change the meaning, and you could actually miss that. And that actually creeps me out more than sending what is obviously autocorrect.
Well, I mean, AI the other day, I'm trying to, use it to craft my messaging more, like emails I send people and things like that. Mm-hmm. And I was talking about invoices, about sending an invoice or something like that. But I wasn't referring it into any way other than collecting invoices. And what it added in there was, I need the money. It's like, hey, please send the invoice. And I'm trying to ask somebody to send me an invoice. Hey, please send the invoice that says I need the money as the next sentence. Am I going? That's you even missed the whole context. I'm asking them to send me an invoice, which means I'm going to pay money. But it makes that next leap. It makes that next leap, which means, he's asking for an invoice. He must need money.
Yeah, and that's the danger of it, is something like that could sneak by, and you wouldn't want that even if you're collecting. I need the money. You don't want to say that. It doesn't know that. That's a really weird thing to write, even though it's grammatically correct and spelling correct and everything. And it's so easy to miss this, because it's hard to really give a thorough look when everything looks right. It's even harder to pick out issues and mistakes like that. And that's I think a really big concern. And I don't know if there's an answer outside of, you just better pay a hell of a lot more attention to everything,
I'm going to accuse Apple of making the keyboard smaller or something like that. I am having so much trouble anymore typing on the keyboard on iPhone. It's like I'm always hitting the wrong. I'm like, how did I hit the wrong, like B for V or whatever's next to each other? It always picks the one next. I'm like, I mean, am I not seeing it right, or is it really just too small where my thumb covers both of them? It just picks one.
I have a similar problem, especially on my phone, where there's certain letters that it always picks up, and I must be just tapping over a little bit. Maybe it's the old spectacles aren't giving me a very clear view anymore or something. But it gets annoying that it's like always making the same mistake, me making the same mistakes over and over again. The other thing I got to say that annoyed me today with a lack of autocorrect. So it changes words. Sometimes it changes a word that's actually spelled correctly is an actual word, but it thinks it's a totally different word that's kind of similar, like a name of something, and it makes it into a word or whatever. But this was driving me nuts today. In Slack, I'm typing, quickly typing, and I misspelled some words. And how come it cannot figure out the most obvious spelling or typo on the planet? Like it'll change everything, but then it's like, yeah, that's just a simple, straightforward word that's used all the time. And obviously, on my keyboard, it's like a B is next to an N and it's the rest of the letters are right, except it's a B. How can you not figure that out? It boggles my mind on places where it can almost be insidious, and then other times it's like, I can't do the simplest thing. It's bizarre to me.
Well, that's kind of like, it's kind of like Google, right? It's all predictive, but the letters have to be in the correct order, right? Which means, like, I misspelled Dallas the other day. Whatever is next to a D, a U or something like that. I hit the wrong one, and it said Ualis or whatever. I'm like,
should be able to figure that out.
Yeah, but it's giving me 5 other things that start with U. Whereas why was Dallas not part of it? That was more logical than any other. Some of the words you even describe, I've never even heard of, or they're probably not even words. Or they are. If they are words, I don't know what it is.
Yeah, you got to hunt for them, and it's. Well, I think we're obviously at a turning point here with AI because some of it is really showing its age. And then because the newest AI like ChatGPT, producer Chad and everything are so far ahead that it's starting to make this old original legacy AI kind of stuff look really, really bad. And it's so funny how quickly that happens. Like, driving down the road and I'm trying to tell my car to give me directions to some place. And I'm so freaking annoyed with it because I've just used ChatGPT and I should be able to say like, yeah, okay, I want to go here, but I know there's a traffic jam over there. Can you take me west and then head me around? ChatGPT could probably figure that out. My AI in my car can't seem to figure out when I'm telling it give me directions for this place. And it's like, yeah, that's 3,000 miles away in Wyoming or something. Like, what are you doing? Right. Like, so yeah. It's setting our expectations completely different. Yeah, exactly. Like it's setting our expectations of where we expect all of this AI will go, and it should be everywhere. That's the feeling is this like, if it's in one place, it should be everywhere already,
Well, Chad impressed the snot out of me today. All right. So I built just a simple table. And what I was trying to do was compare the percentage of conversions from lead to opportunity, from opportunity to deal, right? Just measuring the conversion rates in a funnel step of a business.
Yep.
And I had 7 or 8 channels down one side, then the conversion rate from lead to opportunity, then the conversion rate from opportunity to deal. And I copied the 3 columns like that of this table, put it into ChatGPT and said, hey, tell me what you see in this table. And it was an amazing analysis. Shit, that was really good. I mean, it talked about, which one was best, which one was worse, which areas you could do the most improvement on. I'm like, why do I need a VP of sales anymore or VP of marketing? I got Chad. Can do both of those, right? It was amazing because I had never done that before. Just copied an Excel table and threw it in there and said, what do you see?
That's really interesting. Yeah. Really interesting.
And I have to give you the prompt that I used. I probably won't be able to find it again. Yeah, the prompt that I used was this: what can be learned from the data on this table? And
Wow. I didn't know you could paste the table. Interesting.
I didn't either. I was just trying it. And I'm like, going, maybe we can. Now, when you paste it, you're going to say, "Oh, they're going to fuck this up," because when it gets pasted, it looks like just text, and it had the channel, then it had the number, channel number, right? So it just looks like lines of text, and I'm like, going, they're going to be totally wrong on this. No, nailed it. Even separated out into 4 major categories. I know, talking about which one was the best one. Oh, look.
Oh, it did it again. Thumbs up. Huh.
Lead apparently likes what I did. Lead the opportunity rate, opportunity to deal rate. Then it has channel comparison, a section on that. Then it has a section on areas for improvement. Yeah. And it does not like trade shows, meaning that's the biggest play. Trade shows, we've talked about that. I mean, trade shows are more for brand awareness, less for conversion.
Absolutely. Very, very low for conversion. That's just, it is like I was writing a white paper earlier this week, and I wanted to build out a white paper on client advisory services for CPAs. It's kind of the state of where they are now, best practices, how fast it's grown, and then what the opportunities we see. And I basically made an outline, and I would look through a bunch of reports. I grabbed quotes. I put all this together really quite quickly. I knew exactly what I wanted to cover. So I put it together, the outline, in probably an hour. Then I went to ChatGPT and said, give me section 1 of a report about this, and I want you to use these quotes. And I didn't know what it would come out with, and I barely edited a thing. I was shocked at how good it was, because it's like garbage in, garbage out kind of thing. Well, it's also, if it's really well organized and thought out, it's going to do a good job. Then I pulled it all back out, and I thought, well, okay, I asked it to use some quotes here. I wanted to make sure it just used them as quotes and actually attributed it properly. So I dumped the whole thing in Grammarly and completely passed the test for that. But then it started to pick up all of these other little subtle things in the grammar, and that it thinks it does better than ChatGPT. So I tweaked all of that.
Robots fighting robots.
Robots fighting robots. Then I downloaded a quick template, and I'm embarrassed to say this. I have 2 degrees in design, but I'm not starting from scratch. I don't have time for that. So I grabbed an InDesign template. I'll be honest, by the time I was done, there wasn't anything left of the template, but I just hammered this thing together and got this nice, like, beautiful sort of brochure sort of style, 20-some page white paper from scratch of an idea to ready to roll. I think it was like less than a day and a half. And probably because I had other meetings and stuff slotted in, it was probably less than a day. You could just not do that in the past. Not even close. So I was quite shocked at how good it was from start to finish. And at some point, I haven't looked, but there's probably AI designers that would actually just do the first draft of a document, and I can tell it what I want, and it'll tweak it, right?
Yeah, that's very cool. So, hey, let me go ahead and take a mid-show break. It's 1:10, so it's even. It's not one of the odd ones, so I think it's me, right?
That's you then. Yeah, I'm the odd one.
You're the odd duck here. So, but anyway, let me talk about cash flow, Mike, for just a little bit. And we have done some amazing things this year. I mean, you got to remember, full time starting in January to now, and I just want to say thank you to everybody that's listened to this show, that's become part of my community, that engages with us, in either Facebook or on Slack, or has taken the course and has the videos or has downloaded the book. I am on a mission to eliminate cash flow as a reason that businesses fail. One of the reasons that, Blaine Burgess is my friend, is that we connect on that level. So I want to take today not to advertise, my stuff. I want to say thank you. And I also want to say that if you believe the same as I do, that cash flow shouldn't be a reason that we fail, then let's talk. Let's figure out how to do that together. So please reach out, cashflowmike.com. Check us out. Clear Path to Cash is the Facebook group. It's free, right? So just go there, join for free. Lots of resources, lots of ways to connect. But thanks for letting me do that today, Blaine. Just kind of say thanks.
No, that's awesome, man. And we are just so much on the same page here. And honestly, right now, businesses are struggling with cash flow probably more than they have in the last 15 years. It's a really challenging time. And they need help. They need help from we want to help people, and you're trying to help people. We know we have all sorts of friends and partners that are CPAs and advisors and bankers and everything that are all trying to help. And it's an important time, and it's a topic that's topical, floated right to the top. So yeah, you're doing some great work, and keep it up.
Appreciate it, man. All right. So back to AI. I'm almost predominantly using it for marketing now. I'm not doing a lot extra with it unless I'm goofing off, but it does help me really craft thoughts for social media posts or for email. I mean, what are some other ways you're using it?
We actually used it the other day. We're going to do. I don't want to announce it, but we're going to be on a podcast for CPAs, and we sent over some topics, and we knew the topics we wanted to cover, but instead of having to come up with a title and craft the little description of the blog post or the podcast, it was just bullet point. It's like, here's what we want to cover, and here's who it's for, and give me 5 titles and 5 descriptions for each topic. And it was amazing how good they were, how quick they were, and we could cherry pick and go, I want that title with that description, tweak it this way. Yeah. And we did, I think, 7 or 8 episodes in minutes. Basically, it was really, really useful for things like that. Some stuff is so good at, like I said, if you put in the right ingredients, it will bake something great for you. But if you don't, it gets lost. It doesn't know what to do.
All right. So speaking of, last week you caught me. I used Chad because I was running late. I used Chad to come up with my description instead of writing it myself. And you go, that's not Mike. It's like you were able to tell the difference between Chad and me in writing the description.
Yeah, and that's where it's not necessarily very good. If it's more of a bit of a formal writing style, it's pretty good because it's got a lot of resources from that. It's not good at when it's relaxed, when there's a little bit of slang, when there's inside jokes, anything like that, it can't do a good job of that. It's just that's where it starts to struggle.
Yeah, I tried to have it help me with a blog post where I was trying to simplify some of the concepts, and I couldn't figure out what was the right level of simplification because it was almost 5-year-old versus 10th grader. Yeah, I couldn't dial in the right level of simplifications, but maybe we'll get someday.
I think that I've had that same challenge with it. It does a very good job with sort of a formal, maybe a touch relaxed, and then I've asked it to go, can you just make it a little bit simpler for the business owner, and then it comes back and it's like, someone trying to be really cool, and being really bad at it. It's when you start getting into some of those subtleties like that, it fails miserably. And it's like we always you've had it write a country song and a rap and what else? And they were hilarious and fun, but still it's not going to have the coolness of a real person writing a story, right?
Yeah, because I'm sure that this, AI or Chat GPT or all this stuff, you can teach it the skill of writing correctly and researching and citing and all these rules.
Yeah.
But you're never going to teach it heart. You're never going to teach it emotion. No, I don't think so.
Here, I'm just going to ask it. What am I going to ask it? I want to see how it can do something with emotion. Write a highly emotional.
Yeah, don't say emo.
Maybe I will actually write an emo song.
It'll shut down. Stop talking to you.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Write a highly emotional paragraph. I don't want to even make it. I don't want to make it a poem or anything. About, I don't know, a brewery that lost its way and closed from cash flow problems. I just want to see if it sounds like, if it'll sound kind of like almost like a news story that would make sense or not. Okay, so here's what it says. The brewery, once a vibrant and thriving hub of the community and camaraderie, now stands as a solemn testament to a dream lost. Its doors, once swung wide open and welcome, have now been shuttered and locked, leaving behind a bitter taste of despair. The laughter and lively conversations that once filled its hallowed halls have been silenced, drowned out by the deafening. It started out okay, but now it's just like it's just sentence after sentence. The heart and soul poured into every beer. As I walk past the brewery, I can't help but feel. So it actually, here's a great example. As it started out, it's seemingly okay, and it completely lost its way because it can't do subtle. It can't do just enough emotion. It just, every sentence was so over the top that it's like it had the hook. The first sentence was a good hook. And then then by the halfway through, I'm like, oh my God, eyes rolling, just, you've ruined it, you know?
That's right.
So I guess we've tested it. It's not very good at that.
All right. So I'm going to test one of these AI messengers. I don't like to say that, but I'm going to test it because I think it can help me for a little bit. But who knows? I may hate it, but I've been working very hard on the sound of the message being me, that I would do it. Because you got to give it the things, right, to say, and you got to train it to be you, just about. And while I've been going through this process of trying to get this thing set up, I'm like going, I wonder when somebody's going to come out with the same tool, but for the consumer, whereas your bot talks to my bot, and if you say certain things, maybe I'll give you an appointment.
Interesting.
Because I put in things that I'm looking for that, actually would get on my radar, that, would help me not do a bunch of research in the world. And then it would just be bot, and I would just get the ones that I'm looking for.
Go get me a quote and around this on this criteria, It goes out, talks with a bunch of bots. That's really interesting. Yeah.
And I haven't seen that yet. So, I mean, maybe I came up with it, but if we're already doing one side of the thing, people are going to get mad. I can always tell if somebody reaches out to me on, we'll say, LinkedIn Messenger. I'm like going, that's a bot, especially when I get the same message 2 or 3 times a week. I'm like going, you have such a remarkable profile. I'm like going, who the hell is using that sentence anymore? I'm sure that's not true. Yeah. But 3 people tell me that in a week, and they're all working for GE Capital or something like Chase Morgan Bank. I'm like, first of all, you're not working at Morgan, at JP Morgan. You're not working there. And you're not telling me I have a remarkable profile that you want to learn more about.
Yeah, that's how far away are we from? Like we talked about this before. I get calls on my phone that says it basically is like likely spam. Why are you even letting it through? Same thing with my email. Yeah. I'm going through my email and I've gotten to the point now that like I'm just delete, and I barely get through the subject line. And I can just tell it's just delete. Because it's the same awful salesy bullshit that comes in, and it's you recognize.
I had a guy tell me last week that there's a setting in iPhone or for Apple when you see scam likely, it won't let it through. There's a button or a selector switch or something like that will actually not those through. Yeah. So that you can do that. For that. He said right now he's got it dialed down to where if you're not even in his contact list, he don't get calls from you, right? It just won't ring.
Yeah.
Now I said, well, what do you do if I got like the landscaper coming by, or the guy that does the fertilizer, or, the pest control folks? He goes, just add them to your contacts. I'm like, going, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like,
There's always the odd one that needs to sneak through, but very few, right? And it knows if it's likely spam or whatever, it knows it's bullshit.
but the thing is, they can still leave a voicemail, right? So
okay.
you just won't get it. It won't let them through. You won't be disturbed, but somebody can still leave a voicemail.
Okay.
So if it's still important enough, you'll still get notified that they called.
Yeah. I'd like to be able to say if it says likely spam, they shouldn't even be allowed to leave a voicemail or any of those, right? Because what happens and annoys the hell out of me is they don't actually leave a voicemail, but the computer won't hang up soon enough. So it leaves like dead air for a bit. And then I see voicemails showing up and I know it's spam, but I'm like, at some point I'm gonna have to check because there might be a real voicemail in there somewhere. And it just bugs me. So
it's even worse than dead air. It's like call center background.
Or call center background's even worse. Yeah.
Yeah, that's even worse. So, all right, where do you think? All right, I mean, this started off on autocorrect and went to AI, but are we calling autocorrect AI?
Autocorrect was just what like annoyed me and made me think of the topic, but I think it's much more about automation and AI and how fast you can dive into it, how pervasive it is everywhere already. But it's I think the scary part is how quickly people trust it and where you can actually get into trouble if you're not really on top of it and you're not really keeping an eye on what it's doing for you.
Well, definitely anything that you're gonna put out in your name, email, social post, blog, letter to somebody. Mm-hmm. Read that really closely.
Yeah, very closely.
Just read it closely. Don't trust Chad to know you and your thoughts, because sometimes they'll sneak some stuff in, don't make sense.
Yeah, exactly. And then maybe there's room for your double checker AI to come in and actually, almost like Grammarly, when I threw it in there and I'm like, is it using any quotes not supposed? Nope, it's good, right? Like it could actually test all that. There's probably a lot of room for the backup double checker sort of thing that's just super skeptical and but it's still never going to pick up all of the potential issues that you would have with context and all the subtleties that come through, right?
Well, yeah, just like I was talking about earlier with invoices and money, it had it reversed on needing an invoice versus needing money. Mm-hmm. The other one that I've seen though is I've also seen where it's mixed up the word profit with an FIT, with the word profit with the PHET.
Okay, yeah.
Which is weird. You're like going, I mean, how did it mix those two up? Did it hear it wrong? It couldn't have heard it wrong. I typed it.
So see, that's when it takes an actual word and changes it into a different word. That's pretty scary. I'm just going to send you tomatoes that rock for you. No, it did it. I wanted to see if it that's what it gave me in autocorrect. I wanted to see if I send it, will it try to autocorrect the autocorrectedness? So, but it didn't. It left it. And which is kind of weird because it seems like, shouldn't you pick something up there? I guess there wasn't a typo in there maybe, but weird.
So you literally just sent me tomatoes that rock for you.
I just sent you tomatoes that rock for you because I wanted to see if it would try and do anything to it, but it didn't. So my idea was kind of went up in smoke there. So
yeah. All right. So where do you think this is going? Well, I mean, if we're going to give people like advice let's make predictions instead today. Let's make some predictions. So I had that one where I think individuals will have their own chat bot, right? Their own AI configured, talk for me. The thing you'd have to be careful there is not give them permission to buy without approval. Like, oh no, don't go buy shit. These are the people I'm willing to talk to. But then you got to limit it to like going, I only have 1 or 2 slots a day to talk to people, about stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, and it's every single thing that you like, we see that's a help. Someone's going to try and take advantage of it. right? So you just have to be so much on your guard because there's unintentional kind of mistakes with sort of dumb AI. But what about the people that are actually, like you said, what if it, you just can't let it buy? Well, what if someone actually wrote a bot that somehow convinced your bot to buy or something, like basically hackers, right? Like there's
Yeah,
all
yeah,
sorts of problems. Um, I think what we're already seeing, and I think it started this year. There was little bits. It was like it reminds me of like mp3.com or Napster or whatever. Like you used to be able to get like there'd be the songs and everything, and it just was people would get those little players and hold like 10 songs, and it just this kind of floated around for a while, and all of a sudden Apple came out with the iPod, and the world changed because you could put 1,000 songs in your pocket and they could convince people to pay for it. And it
hmm
feels like that's what 2023 is to me. Is AI did this little bit, and suddenly it's like, oh, this is legit. It can do way more than anyone thought, way more sophisticated. And it is the very first baby step in this area. So if we're looking back in 5 years from now, I'm not even talking 10 years, 5 years from now, you got to think of how pervasive it'll be through all of our devices. And
yeah,
and they're
yeah.
talking like it'll be probably in glasses and headphones and every little mechanical or digital device you have will be connected and will have AI built in some way. And I'm sure it'll be much more refined and it'll do some great things, but it's just like everything else on the internet. It'll have a flip side where there's going to be dangers and mistakes and people taking advantage of it. And,
Yeah, well, Amazon had that problem. Remember when it first came out, where you could just—I don't want to say her name. She's sitting right over here, and if I say her name, she'll light up and say, "What do you want?" But
yeah.
the Amazon device, right? The Amazon device, you could tell it, "Hey, buy this or buy that," right? And then they had all these kids
Yeah.
that figured that out, and they were going around to those devices and going, "Hey, buy me $500 worth of Pokemon cards," and they
Yep.
just show up to the house. So there has to be some type of human interaction, I think, when it comes to spending your money. I think there has to be.
Yeah.
There has to be some type of stopgap. Amazon figured it out somehow, right? They don't have those type of problems as much anymore.
Well, and that's the whole doorway that hackers are going to try and get through, is that you're trying to stop these things from happening, and they're trying to force it to happen. They're trying to find ways that they can convince you to slip up, and they can take your money, and that's not going to end. It's going to get trickier and trickier, right? Like they go hand in hand. It's like the good always has the bad, the dark side and the light side. It's always going on for everything, right?
Yeah, that's so. All right, so where would I want to see AI in my life? It, I do like those conversations where I could just screen conversations. I think that's something everybody could get, because I don't know how many times I've been involved in a conversation and it lasts for 30 minutes and I'm like, I shouldn't have been here. 10 minutes out, right? I should have been out in 10 minutes, and I was just too polite to shut it down. I'm not as polite anymore. But I used to be that way. But I think there's people out there that get stuck in conversations longer than they need to because they didn't screen it properly. Like, oh, this isn't for me. So I think there's probably some way to screen things better
Yeah.
based on that. Now, could I have it to where you could, where parents and their children are having that conversation, bot to bot? If I say we're all going to have individual like bots that do some interactions for us, would that be the next step? Is like hey, neighbor Breger, maybe I don't want to talk to you this week. Just talk to my bot.
Yeah, exactly. It's
Because I'm already seeing people send bots to meetings. Are you seeing that? Like on Zoom?
Oh
You'll
yeah,
have,
they show them at note
bots and all.
takers. Yeah,
Like going, dude, you couldn't even come to the meeting. They're not coming physically. They just send a note taker and I guess read about the meeting later.
yeah. And like that'll get more and more sophisticated where it takes the notes, or even a meeting, like it'll take the transcript and actually do summaries of it. But then the problem again with that is if you relied on that, there can be some things that you can completely miss that a person in the meeting will pick up. It's a verbal cue. It's a little bit of like slang. It's a little something, and they can pick something up that a bot will completely miss. And you can actually like that's where you can, I think, have some serious problems. And it's if we sidestep real conversations and reality too much and rely too much on AI, you're going to miss some things that are really critical.
Now there's one I think that showed promise for me. I forget what it was, Ovoma or something like that, where it can take the transcripts of several calls, right? We'll say sales calls, and then look for the things that are the common key points that keep coming up during every call, and then help you determine what the pain point is that's happening, on your customer side, so you can change the messaging on the marketing side. Yeah. And am I going, damn, that's really good? Because normally you have to go with somebody hearing it and bringing it back to the table, like, oh, here's a theme. Everybody's looking for this. Again, I go back to the Finograph example where everybody was looking for the tax return reader, and we thought it was just part of the product, right? Yeah. And finally we took it out. But it took so many times of hearing it, and this is over several years. If we could have had that done in 2 months, if we said, hey, look, every single conversation we have, they want this, not that.
Yeah, yeah. Super valuable. I just think there still has to be a person in the room because, you could the AI could miss. It's going to do stuff really good, and it's going to pull some really useful things out, and it could also miss something that's critical that only a person could pick up. Like I think you'd have to build a lot of trust. Vet it first, and have a lot of meetings where you're kind of. It's sitting shotgun for you, so you can actually make sure it's doing what it needs to do.
Yeah, so I use a Voma, right? And but mine's like live streaming in Zoom. It doesn't like come as an extra person into the Zoom meeting. Yeah. But the thing is, I saw in one of the key questions, right? Because it'll try to break it out. Like here's action items. Here were questions that were unanswered. Those type of things. We were talking about like I don't know Chiefs football, and I think one of the things I said was, what the hell was he thinking? And that came an action item. It was an unanswered question. Right? Just because they picked it up as a question and they didn't hear an answer, that answered that question, I guess. So they put it in there as an action item to answer a question.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, of course, it's going to get better. It's going to get stronger. It's going to get smarter. But that's the problem, I think, in some ways, is that we rely on it more and more and more, and we get lazy and start missing some things that are really important. It can actually get guided down the wrong path. Like I was talking earlier about, I was writing some notes out, and Grammarly started auto writing for me, and I'm trying to get the stupid thing to stop. And then I read what it said, and I'll be honest with him, like, shit, that's pretty good. But I deleted it because I went, okay, yeah, but that's not what I meant. That's not the important part. It sounded amazing. It sounded good. It wasn't down to the granular detail that really mattered. And it would have been easy for me to be lazy and go, oh, that's pretty good. Let's let it, and then it becomes worthless and useless because it's not trying to make connections that are, it's scanning everything else, but it's not making deep connections that are really meaningful for what I was looking at as a problem, right? So,
yeah, that makes sense. Hey, this is 110 episodes with you, 110 episodes of Mike and Blaine. If you haven't had the chance to check out our website, go to mikeandblaine.com where you can check out our merch. You can buy us a beer. And special thanks out to neighbor Breger because you'll never hear a Baylor grad say this, and I'm saying on air, go Texas, right? Because Oklahoma does suck.
And you know what? I do have a soft spot for Texas because I still have 2 shot glasses upstairs with the U of T little bull on, what do you call it? The Longhorn on the, I should know that, on the shot glasses from the first time I was in Austin. And I always thought it was such a cool logo. So it's not a great way to support a team, but I'm from Canada, man. I just like, it looks cool. It's kind of a fun team, right?
Yeah, we'll take you as a Baylor fan, though, if you want to be that.
Is it Baylor Bears, is it? Or
yeah, Baylor Bears.
Baylor Bears. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, bear's cool. I
We have 2 live bears on campus. We got 2 live bears on campus.
really, okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to admit something here that is, so it sounded like I knew something about college sports when I said Baylor Bears. I think I know it's Baylor Bears because of a country song. I'm gonna have to dig it up. I gotta find this one, but Baylor Bears is part of the country song.
Really?
Yeah,
That's interesting.
It's I gotta find it. It's not very. I think it was okay with Baylor, but it was not so nice to some of the other schools and some of the other towns. I got to find it. I just can't remember what the song is, but I somehow absorbed that out of it. So you can ask Chad, just see what he says.
I just asked Chad. I don't know what he's going to say.
The song that talks about Baylor Bears, Waco, Texas, and highway. What highway would it be?
35.
Highway 35. I don't think that was the highway. I'm gonna have to dig this up because I think you're gonna get a kick out of the song. I got to find who it was because it was as usual. My Spotify has thousands of songs in a 50 different playlists, but I do have a country playlist and it's all this outlaw country stuff, which is kind of fun. But I'm gonna have to find that song for you.
No, you're gonna have to because Chad's like, I don't know.
Yeah, I'll track it down.
So yeah, you got to. All right, number 110 in the books. This is gonna be a 2 for week though. So if you are not subscribed because you're getting 2 episodes this next release.
Yeah, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you follow us. Make sure you go to our website, mikeandblaine.com. So thanks for joining us, and we'll see you on Thursday, just 2 days from now.
Check out their website at mikeandblaine.com. Then subscribe to the podcast and buy these guys a beer.